Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Brian Hoops with Midwest Market Solutions. It's Friday night, November the 8th. This is our Market Insider TV WASD report. The report came out today. Provided a little support to the corn market, closed a couple cents higher, 6 cents lower in the soybeans. Had a glitch from the USDA office on their website. They did not release support right away. But it did seem like the market reacted to the news, or someone had known the report as corn rallied right away before the report was even released, and managed to hold on to those gains during the session. So we're going to look at the news and fundamentals of the markets here. Report today on corn, beans, and wheat. Maybe if we have time, look at a couple charts as well to give us some perspective and technical direction. These markets are likely to head. So let's take a look at things here. Thanks for joining us once again. Remember, there's risk of loss in trading futures and options, and must consider whether this is a suitable investment vehicle for you. About our company, we were founded in 2002, so we've been around 17 years with 12 licensed brokers and offices in Missouri, Iowa, North and South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota, Montana, and Illinois. And our clearing firm is R.J. O'Brien, the oldest clearing firm of the CME. We do have full discount brokerage services as well as trading platforms, our market solutions hedge program, our daily insider newsletter, trader newsletter, weekly newsletters, our audio and video commentaries, Twitter feed, text marketing service, basically everything you need in one location. So check us out and get more information. Go online at midwestmarketsolutions.com if you need more information. All right, let's take a look here at the snapshot from the report today. USDA said production is 13.66 billion bushels. This is a little negative compared to the average trade estimate. It is actually down from last month. Overall yield is lower compared to a month ago, production lower than a month ago, but a little bit larger than the average trade guess. Noticed harvested acres were left unchanged from last month, even though the USDA said they would resurvey North Dakota and Minnesota because of the late planting and late harvest, but we did not have any change in harvested acres of corn or in soybeans compared to a month ago. In fact, there's no changes of production whatsoever in soybeans. This is a little bit bearish, above the average trade guess here, and completely unchanged from last month. And if you just look at these production numbers compared to the average trade guess, both of these numbers are a little bit bearish, but the corn number is down from last month, so it was a step in the right direction as far as that goes. Continue here looking at our ending stocks. We'll go through each commodity, but if we look at our corn stocks, 1.910 billion bushels, that's way above the average trade guess. It is down slightly from last month, down from last year at this time, but this, again, if you, just like production, you compare it to the average trade guess, this is not a bullish number. Soybeans, 475 compared to the average guess, not a bullish number. In fact, it's up 15 million from last month. Wheat is the only market that is at below the average guess here out of these three commodities. It's also below last month and down slightly from last year. Now, it's not all bullish for the wheat. This number here is the fourth year in a row that we've had ending stocks for wheat above 1 billion bushels, and I don't see that changing anytime here relatively soon. On a worldwide basis, this is a little bit positive because it came in below the average trade guess and down from last month. U.S. had some corn production problems this last year, a little bit in Argentina as well. That was enough to lower world ending stocks down from last year by a long ways and from the current USDA number. Soybean stocks right in line with the guess and last month. World wheat stocks right in line with the average guess and a month ago levels. Let's take a look at see how the USDA arrived at some of these figures. As far as our supply and demand numbers, and that's what we're looking at here. This is old crop marketing year, last year's that we really don't have much effect anymore, and this current marketing year, we're in 2019. This is last month October. This is this month of November. No changes on harvested acres, but yields down 1.4 bushels per acre, and that gives us production 118 million less than year ago levels. As far as our demand, and this is what is going to be key going forward, feed and residuals down 25 million bushels, industrial use, ethanol use down 25 million bushels, and then if you look at exports, we're down 50 million bushels. So we cut 100 million bushels off of our total usage. We're at 13.9 1.15 billion bushels as far as total usage. It's still more than what we are producing as far as a crop of 13.661. So that's why we have ending stocks at 1.9 compared to last year of 2.1. We produced a little bit smaller crop, but we're using just a little bit less. And this is the number that I'm concerned about, is this export at 1850 and total demand in here. I think these ending stocks numbers, as we go into the December supply and demand report, we're always looking ahead. This export number could drop another 25 million bushels between now and then. Our exports for the month of November have been disappointment, to say the least. Likely the USDA comes down another 25, maybe 50 million bushels, and without a production change to offset that, these ending stocks are going to grow from 1.910 billion bushels possibly up to 1925, 1950, and our carryout is going to get a little bit larger. So I don't look at this as a bullish number. In fact, this is a little negative in here as our demand continues to decrease. How did the USDA get to this production number? And if you look at, I think this is fascinating to look at each individual state, and they have each individual state for planted acres, harvested acres. But let's look at the yield. And then they give you a full production number in here, and this is how they do their accounting. And you look at some of these states, and producers in Illinois, Indiana just tell me how bad the crop is. But let's look at where we're at. We're at 179 bushels per acre. This is a decent number, but it's discounted by over 20 bushels an acre compared to last year. I wish they had last year's numbers on this, but they don't. But that's unchanged from their last report. Another key state is Iowa, again unchanged. Minnesota, they did lower it 3 bushels per acre. Michigan is down 3 bushels an acre. Wisconsin is unchanged. Nebraska is a key state. That's down 4 bushels per acre. So there's some key states in here that are losing crop. 3 bushels in Minnesota. Michigan, as I mentioned. Missouri is unchanged. Then you look at North and South Dakota. North Dakota only has about 10% harvested. So you look at this number, they're dropping yields 4 bushels per acre already. South Dakota 3 bushels per acre. So there isn't much in the way of positive changes. Alabama, Indiana, which is a little surprise, and Ohio, another little surprise that we saw an increase in yield. So I know, talking with clients today, producers today, looking at this number, they don't believe this, but this is very similar to a lot of people's guesses. Some of the private analysts, some farmer surveys, all saying right in this range as their yield. And so I think we have to believe what the USDA is telling us, that they're not that far off. There is not that disaster out there that a lot of people were hoping for. Let's look at soybeans here. Harvested acres, planted acres, everything left unchanged as far as production goes. We get into crush, they lowered it by 15 million bushels. They left exports alone, and I think that's key. That's a smart thing to do, leaving these export numbers unchanged, because if we get an agreement with China and they start to buy back to levels where they were a year ago, this number will become 1.9, maybe 2 billion bushels, and we'll start to shrink some of this carryout number. So certainly this is not a bullish number. This is the 3rd largest in history. It's less than half of what we had last year. And overall, this number could shrink. The corn number, I think, could grow. The soybean number could shrink a little bit as we go through the winter months. But the caveat is, can we get an agreement reached with China? And what does that agreement say? And no one knows at this point. As far as yield goes, they left the yield unchanged. We can go through kind of this state by state here. Illinois was unchanged. Iowa was unchanged. Indiana did pick up 1. Kansas picked up 1. Michigan down 2. Minnesota up 1. Missouri unchanged. Not much harvested in North or South Dakota. South Dakota's unchanged. Wisconsin's unchanged. A lot of these states they left unchanged. They did lower North Dakota down a couple bushels per acre, and Oklahoma, but changes as far as Nebraska, there's a lot of harvest done there. Minnesota up a bushel, that's certainly questionable. I think there's a lot of arguments that could be made here. Minnesota yield improved, Nebraska yield has improved. They have a lot of crop left to harvest in Minnesota, and some of that has not been under the best conditions. So we won't get another production number until January. That one could be kind of explosive, but for now, we are looking at yields similar to what we saw last month, and nothing real bullish out of this report. Look at the wheat numbers, and there was just a few changes here. They did manage to lower harvested acres and increase yield slightly. As far as our production goes, we are looking at a little bit smaller production, 42 million bushels. Feed usage down 5, seed usage down 7 million, and overall domestic usage off 12 million bushels. So our exports down slightly as well, or excuse me, unchanged. It's our total usage down 12 million, and our ending stocks dropped by 30 million. So this is very minimal changes in here. It is down from last year. It is down from last month. So it was seen as positive for the wheat, but it's not something that's going to change dramatically. USDA certainly justified leaving exports at 950 million bushels. All right, that's what we have for you for this report, this WASDE numbers. Nothing too exciting. We'd love to talk with you about more marketing and more marketing ideas. Let's take a look at a chart here before I sign off. I want to look at some charts quick. December corn. You can see we're in a downtrending market. Here's a downtrend line. We had a higher day today. We failed at some resistance. I think this market is probably going to go take out these lows here. We're going to struggle with this market as demand weakens over the next couple months. This is a target where I think the corn is going, and soybeans are struggling too. The uptrend, I think, has been broken in here. We're starting to turn lower. I don't think the market has that much downside, but if we look at a continuation chart to tell us more about soybeans, this is key support in here. We take this 925 out, we don't find support until about 897. We've got large spec open interest and large spec long position in here. If that trend starts to break, these guys are going to start bailing out of it, whether there's an agreement with China or not. So that's what my concerns here for this market. Have a good night, everyone, and hope you had a great day in the markets.